All right, when you think about AI projects, you're probably thinking fast, flexible, agile, right? So bringing up a rigid, old-school project management method might sound, well, a little crazy. But what if it's not? What if sometimes that classic method is the smartest choice you can make? Today, we're diving into the surprising role of the waterfall method in AI.
Now, all the insights we're digging into today, they come straight from Chapter 7 of a course by Virtualization Options LLC called Comparing Project Management Methodologies for AI Implementations. So we're really getting into the details here.
So let's just get right to it. The big question on everyone's mind, right? In this age of AI and Agile, isn't the waterfall method just a recipe for disaster? I mean, it seems like it would be, but the answer you'll find is a lot more interesting than a simple yes or no.
And that's really the key here. It turns out that when things like control, predictability, when those are absolutely critical, this so-called old-school method suddenly looks pretty good. It really has a place.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is the waterfall methodology? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a straight line, a one-way street. You have these distinct phases, and you have to finish one phase completely, 100% done and signed off, before you can even think about starting the next. There's no going back. It's like building a skyscraper, right? You need that entire blueprint finalized and approved before a single shovel hits the dirt.
So when does this kind of rigid approach actually become a huge advantage? Well, think about two main scenarios. First, if you're not building some wild experimental AI from the ground up, but instead implementing a known, off-the-shelf commercial solution. And second, and this is a big one, when you're working in a super regulated environment. Think healthcare, finance, or defense.
And this is exactly why it's so important in those fields. The source material puts it perfectly. The waterfall methodology's emphasis on comprehensive documentation and formal phase transitions aligns well with regulatory requirements. So in these cases, all that rigid structure and paperwork, that's not a bug. It's a feature. It's what keeps you compliant and out of trouble.
Okay, so we get the why, but what does an AI project using waterfall actually look like? Day to day, week to week? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the blueprint. Take a look at this. This timeline really lays it all out. See how each step is its own locked-in block? You could spend, say, 4 to 8 weeks just on requirements analysis, getting everything nailed down. Then another 6 to 10 weeks on system design. The biggest chunk, the actual implementation, could take up to 5 months. And it's only after all of that is done that you finally get to testing and deployment. The key thing to realize here is you don't actually see a working product until way, way late in the game.
And this brings us right back to that skyscraper analogy. It's so perfect for this. You're committing to a full design, a complete blueprint before you lay a single brick. For you, as a manager, this is a double-edged sword. On one hand, you get predictability. You know the timeline, you know the budget. But you totally lose the flexibility to, say, add a balcony on the 10th floor once construction is started.
And really, that's the core of the decision, isn't it? It's this strategic trade-off between predictability and flexibility. As a manager, you gotta see this isn't just some technical choice the engineers make. It's a business strategy decision. And it's all about weighing the risks and the rewards. This chart lays out that trade-off perfectly. Look, on the works for AI side, you've got stable requirements, predictable timelines, mandatory documentation, awesome for proof in tech. But look at the limitations. It's terrible for projects where you're still figuring things out. What happens if you discover a massive problem with your data 6 months in? There's almost no room to course correct. And for your stakeholders, they're waiting a long time to see any real value.
So if your team comes to you and says, hey, let's use waterfall for this AI project, these are the red flags you absolutely have to watch for. These are the common failure modes. You could move forward even with bad data. You could stick so rigidly to the plan that you ignore a better idea that comes up later. And a big one is stakeholder frustration. They see nothing for months. But maybe the most dangerous risk of all? You can follow the plan to a T, check every box, meet every spec, and still end up with a model that does nothing for the business. Why? Because the business needs changed, and the project couldn't.
All right, so where does that leave us? What's the big takeaway here? It's really not about finding the one best method that works for everything. It's about having a toolkit and knowing which tool to pull out for which job.
And maybe the most powerful idea here is that this isn't an all-or-nothing choice. A lot of really smart organizations are doing something in the middle. They're creating a hybrid. They use the high-level structured phases of waterfall for governance, for the big picture sign-offs and compliance. But inside each of those phases, the teams are working in quick, flexible, agile sprints. It's a way to get the best of both worlds. You get the control you need and the adaptability you want.
And that brings us to the final crucial question you should be asking. It's not, is this methodology new and shiny, or is this what the cool startups are doing? No. The real question is, does this methodology manage my risk for this specific project with its specific goals and constraints? Does this approach tackle our biggest risks, whether they're regulatory, technical, or financial? If you can answer that, you'll always make the right choice.